Got it.
All right. So, yeah, the main points I want to cover tonight are um, the timeline jumps that are going on, and and how that's sort of playing out. And I want to talk about the quantum field, because the quantum field is kind of where everything happens. So everything that happens here is actually really just a manifestation of what's happening in the quantum field. So we sort of think that everything that's happening here affects out there, but it's actually more the reverse. And what I will say through all of this is just my experience. This is just what comes through for me. This is just what I feel, see, and experience. And so take what resonates and leave what doesn't. So, what I say is not gospel, because it's only from my experience. And everyone that comes in from these fields experiences things in a slightly different way. And they all, if you go to 5 psychics, you're going to get 5 different readings, because they all access the quantum in a different way. So, I just want to really make that clear, that your experience and your access to the quantum is the only thing that matters. And as you go along, what you do is you'll find these synchronicities that validate what you're seeing, hearing, feeling. So you will start to you might have this experience in meditation where something happens and where you receive something that feels really clear, and then you might question it, and then something will pop up on a feed or in day-to-day life, or something that you see that will completely make it drop and validate everything that you saw in that field. And so what happens is, each time that happens, you receive a signal into your energy body or into your subconscious that is validation, right? And each time you receive that validation, you're changing the baseline of your experience. And so you start to have more of those experiences, because you start to call them in, right? And so that's your manifestation, based on a shift within the quantum field of experience. Does that make sense? So what I just want to have a look at tonight is sort of, the timeline jumps is one thing, but with the quantum field, there's sort of 3 areas that I like to look at that for me are really important for the development of working in that field. And one is your imagination. Your imagination is your creation zone. The second one is transmutation, which leads into transcendence. And the last one is manifestation. So those 3 things for me are the key to working in the quantum field: imagination, transmutation, and manifestation, right? So those are what I want to try and get through and cover tonight, as much as I possibly can, and hopefully with a couple of wee experiences or exercises as we go. So the first thing I want to talk about is the way we're going through this massive shift in consciousness, and so what is amazing on the planet right now, and it really is just showing up in every single part of life, is polarity, right? And duality. And so we are going through this massive quantum shift in consciousness, and and it is highlighting our polarity. The polarity is not new, but what we are seeing is we are seeing that polarity magnified by like 1,000-fold. And it is, it's sort of like, you know, this huge movement of the earth, of all the, you know, tectonic plates, of everything. The core of the earth is moving into a new dimension. And you know, we've been in this sort of 3D duality for a really, really long time. And we're now actually receiving this 5D energy. So the planet's actually vibrating completely differently already. We just haven't yet caught up. So we are going through all these polarity shifts of 3D consciousness to 5D consciousness, but we're skipping in and out of them all, right? So that's why we're having these massive earthquakes going on inside, massive emotional shifts, massive polarity of emotions, massive polarity within society, massive polarity within consciousness. We are having these huge things happen because they absolutely have to, if we are to absorb and move into this new energy, right? So, so what's also happening? So, you know, for however long, you know, it really the last sort of 10 years in particular, but, you know, we've obviously been shifting towards this new 26,000 year cycle for quite a while. But within the last sort of decade in particular, we've really been having this 5D energy pouring into the planet. And we have been really trapped in a matrix for a very long time. And within that matrix, we have kept ourselves there, survived in there, within the walls of our limiting self-belief system. And so we are now moving into something much more expanded than that, something much huger. And we're trying to absorb all this new energy, but what we're having to do is clear, you know, clear. And it's not just clearing ourselves, it's clearing the planet. And that's huge, because what's coming in simply, you know, does not match in vibration to what's already here. And so you're getting this, you know, this thing going on, and these big clashes as polarity is highlighted and shown to us in all of its forms. And so our job is to transcend that. Our job is to work out how we transcend that. And we are doing that in stages. So it's very hard. We can't all just, I mean, it has happened on planets, but it's very unusual where a planet would simply ascend energetically as a collective mass. That's very unusual. You know, for a planet that is evolving as we are, very much in service to self-limiting belief systems, it's, you know, it's very difficult for us to step out of that and move into this new energetic state of consciousness. So, so basically, what's happening is you've got all these people on the planet, and everyone in here would fall into that category, where a lot of gifts are starting to open up. So there's a lot of, and what's happening is, you know, there's certain people that are on, you know, this path of moving into the 5D and or have been for a really long time. And so those people are much more able to see, you know, what's going on. That doesn't mean we don't get stuck in the matrix as we're trying to sort of, you know, escape down the chute. But it does mean that we have more awareness of these shifts of consciousness. We can see the polarity more easily than a lot of people who are sitting in that denser, lower vibrational energy, or people who are very stuck in their growth and struggling to move out of service to self. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. If I'm not making sense, just tell me. So all these people basically are having all these experiences suddenly. So, you know, I mean, I've been having experiences since my 20s, but then I didn't for a long time because I had kids and, you know, everything went by the wayside. And then suddenly, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever, suddenly it all started kicking off again. And so, you know, what was happening was I had got off track, right? And then all of a sudden, this energy coming in was not going, you know, something in me was being activated, right? My ascension markers were getting activated. And I'll be talking about that on Sunday. But as my ascension markers were getting activated, and I being so off track, which I had been at the time, I literally, it was like being dragged, you know, down a gravel road with a chain around my neck for, you know, quite a while because I was like resisting, because I didn't really know what was going on. Obviously, you know, we're all gifted with the power of hindsight. But oh, great. Okay. So yeah, we basically, when we get really off track, you're going to have like a cataclysmic event, right? Like you're going to have a massive relationship fail. You're going to get sick. You're going to like have your whole life fall apart around your ears, if it has to, for you to hear and feel that new energy coming in. Because if that's what it takes to, you know, drag you kicking and screaming back onto the right train track, then that's, you know, that's what they'll do. So basically you've got everyone who is like a way shower, or you know, like you can say light worker, you can say anything you want, but anyone who is here to anchor this earth energy, anchor this 5D energy. So certain people, thank you, are certain people are anchors and antennas for the energies coming in, right? And so people are always coming to me and they're always saying, but Mel, what is my life purpose? What am I supposed to be doing with my life? Like, what is the job I'm supposed to be doing? And I'm just like, your job is to come home, you know, to who you are. Your job is to connect back in with your soul self. Your job is to stop the duality that you've been living in and come back into unity, come back into oneness, because you cannot accept and integrate that 5D energy unless you are unified within yourself. And once you're unified within yourself, you suddenly have no need to know what job you're meant to be doing. Like it falls away because you feel whole, right? So you're no longer seeking something to validate your existence. You're no longer trying to find the answers in a relationship or a job or anything else. You feel whole. And when you feel whole, you don't care what work you do. You could work down in the hospice shop as a volunteer. You could be a pizza delivery boy, or you could run a large company. It makes no difference. Okay, it really makes no difference. And you won't be any less happy no matter which of those jobs you are doing if you are whole. Okay. And so all the jobs, all the work that we do in the quantum field is to bring you home, is to reconnect your soul to its silver thread and to integrate your physical and energetic bodies. Because what we have been programmed to do since birth is to create polarity, duality within ourselves. Okay, so we have the light and the dark, the good and the bad, the energy and the physical. Everything is about separation, right? And our whole existence is about unifying that, is about integrating the darkness, integrating the shadow side, the shame, the anger, the resentment, not getting rid of it, but integrating it, accepting it, loving it, knowing that it served a purpose in your survival, knowing that it served a purpose when you were a child to hold those things at bay or to express in a certain way because you were not safe enough to express them in an open way in front of you, or you were not told how to do it safely. You were not taught. So, the problem is our parents grew up in duality, and so we grow up in duality. And the only way the cycle ever breaks is by changing ourselves, right? So we can service to self. Yes. I'll definitely explain a bit more. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm just going to turn my light on because I just realized my room's getting really dark. Hang on. Yeah, so the service to self, right? So Sue's just asked if I can just explain it a bit more about the service to self. So really, we grow up in a service to self sort of environment, right? How can I grow? How can I get what I want? How can I find the job that I want? How can I draw to me the things that I need? So it's, very much this I thing. Even often when we think we're being spiritual, we're still wondering, how we get all these things to ourselves, right? And in service to other, which is what the 5D energy is pulling yourself out of the planet and staring down at the planet from an ET's perspective, right? Looking down at the planet, imagine you're an ET, like that's probably a good way to explain it. Imagine you're an ET from a really evolved planet and you are observing with a bird's eye view what is going on Earth. And you look across all the countries at the chaos and the war and the fighting and the huge amounts of money that get moved around between just a few people and the suffering. And you are very surprised because you can see that if those few people that move all the money around and control the planet were to suddenly release their iron grip and let the coffers fall, that the entire structure of the planet would change in an instant, right? And everyone would be freed, really, because it is like a form of slavery. So you would suddenly have enough, you would probably wouldn't even need money, because there would be enough money. You wouldn't have a country suffering because there's more than enough money for all those countries. You wouldn't have people suffering because you would be working for the greater good. You would be saying, how can I serve? So it's moving out of how can the world serve me to how can I serve the world, right? So service to other is living in service. And, that doesn't mean that you have to, live working for a charity, right? That's not what it's about. But living in service means for the greater good, right? For the greater good. So, if you're looking at everything that's going on the planet right now, and you look at the polarity that is going on, and then you ask, like, is this for our greater good? If I'm looking at the media every day, what am I being programmed to see? What am I being programmed to think? So after I watch the news, what am I thinking? Am I feeling anger towards those people? Or am I feeling love? Because love doesn't really get any ratings, does it? So, the news, the media, social media, their algorithms are based around creating polarity, right? So it doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. It's all about creating polarity and keeping us separated. And, everything is geared towards it. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to go into self-love, Nesta. Self-love is absolutely everything. But I might not do that as much on this workshop as tomorrow's one. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like the key to everything. Okay, does that help, Suze? Yeah, alrighty. So the timeline jumps, oh gosh, the timeline jumps that are going on are, so last year before, if you go to a psychic, what they're going to show you is the clearest timeline that they see, right? It's not the only timeline that exists, and that's why they can't get it right all the time, but it's the clearest timeline that they see. And you can pick another timeline, and people do. And often when you go to a psychic, that influences a jump to another timeline. But at the moment, it won't matter who you go to, because, and this is why they're all wrong at the moment and nothing's happening, because the timeline, there's a timeline convergence going on. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, in channels, what I see is just like multiple timelines sort of rushing through space, and chaos, and everything is like everything is just sort of, it's like someone just threw the balls in the air, right? And we've just got to see where they land. But obviously, while doing the work, but that's kind of how the timelines are looking at the moment. And so there is a huge war going on in the quantum field. So this is where it's all at, right? Everything that's playing out here as a result of the war going on in the quantum. That's how it comes through to me. And in the quantum realms, like basically, you know, if we think about a prison, Earth is the prison, right? Because we're not taught how to leave Earth. And so basically, once we learn how to access the quantum, you know, through our mind, then there's, you know, it's limitless out there, right? It's endless. There are endless realms and dimensions, and there's just endless possibilities being played out, and we can, you know, jump from timeline to timeline very easily at the moment. So, you know, one thing that's happening is we've got all these converging timelines. Oh, Lee's in. Well, hey. Welcome, Lee.
Just had to turn the phone on and off again. How funny is that?
Oh, you're joking. Thank you, IT lady. Yeah, so we've got all these timelines that are converging. We've got all this quantum war going on. But at the same time, the energy, the 5D energy, is manifestation energy, right? It makes you really, really powerful at co-creating. And so the 5D, the beautiful thing about the 5D energy is this manifestation power. So basically, anyone who is whose gifts are opening up, who are starting to work in the quantum realms, or who have always worked in the quantum realms and are getting way more powerful and way stronger, you're going to find that the more practice you do in those areas, the more you're going to start noticing it in the physical. Has anyone had that experience? Yeah, Emma, definitely. And Jackie, absolutely.
Question, Melly. What kind of practice are you referring to?
Yeah, good question. So, okay, so several things, right? Hang on, I'll just make sure I'm getting them. I'm pretty sure I wrote something down about that. Can't find it, but I'm going to say, right, so that's where these three things come in as well. You know, your imagination, and your transmutation and your manifestation, right? And you do this through meditation, and even just being very still, even if you're not necessarily, yeah, I'll go into that, Lidwin, even if you're not necessarily meditating as such, if you sit in a pause, sit in a stillness, then you are going to be able to start, you know, the more you start creating with your imagination, the stronger you're going to get. Because if your imagination is really stunted through lifetime of you know, thinking that it's a bad thing to have a big imagination, then that's what you want to start playing around with. You want to start playing and imagining, because your imagination starts to increase your vibration, and your vibration starts to connect you in with your teams, your guides, your ETs, whoever you're working with on whatever celestial realm or planet. And it doesn't matter, because, you know, as long as you're connecting in from the right vibration in service to other, then that's all that matters. So intention, connection, meditation, you know, this transmutation, all of these things are the ways that you do this. Yeah, does that help?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so basically with your imagination, right, the sky's the limit. So when I'm working with people and I'm asking for the most powerful boundary for them, right, I might be given 100 different ones for different people, or I might be given one for a lot of people. And so it really, you know, there's people get very hung up on the right image or the right, you know, getting something wrong. And the biggest lesson you can learn is that you just can't get anything wrong in the quantum field as long as you are doing it with the right intention and service to other, right? You can't get it wrong. So I might be guiding you into a meditation, and you might suddenly end up somewhere completely different, doing something completely different. And some people get really anxious about that, and they're trying to get back to my one. And I'm like, no, that is like your guides connecting in directly, direct line. So say thank you and jump on that one, because they're saying this one is going to work better for you, right? So your creativity, your imagination is what leads you into your work in the quantum field. So you start off imagining and then you start receiving. That's how it works, right? So you start off you know, I might sit there and just go outside, and then I might imagine a guide, and then a guide will come. And so your imagination makes the connection that it throws the line out that they can then ride in on. That's the best way I can think to explain it.
Amazing.
Awesome. And so
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
just a real quick one, because otherwise we'll go on and on. Like, for example, I really connect with your channeling and meditations, and then suddenly something comes up, like just out of the blue, like today, and I don't want to turtle. It was like a turtle and alien, but I don't know whether it seemed like it was good. It didn't look good because it was quite a scary looking whatever, but then it went all nice like a turtle. You know what I mean? Like, I know it sounds weird, everybody, I'm sorry, but so is that good? Like, imagination, or is that just me?
That's amazing. Yeah. So what happened there, right, is because we have this idea that good aliens all look pretty with blonde hair, you know, and Stephen Greer talks about this, and bad aliens look like reptilians, and you know, and so we have this idea again, polarity of good and bad, right? Now, I'm not saying that everything in the ether has your highest interest at heart. It doesn't. But what something looks like when it comes through, when you are working with intention and service to other, is going to be for your greater good almost all of the time. And the only times it wouldn't be is if there's a distraction trying to be created to knock you off your path, or
that's what I was worried about.
Or if there's a psychic attack, and they're actually much rarer than people think. Okay, and I'm not saying they don't happen, and I've had all of that happen lots of times, but you know, that's partly because of the nature of the work that I do. But I can say that when we're sitting in the meditation space, our collective energy is far too powerful to draw in anything negative. So I would say 100% what happened was, not 100%, but you know, as certain as I can be, what happened was a being came in, an ET. It recognized your fear because it wasn't a pretty blonde being, a humanoid. And so it changed shape. It shifted to be less scary to you.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. It wasn't a nice thing to start off with. It was like something out of Star Wars. One of those.
Yeah.
I'm not even into that.
Yeah. So the quantum field is a lot like Star Wars, like seriously. And the more you're out there, the more you think Star Wars was totally channeled, along with pretty much The Matrix and every other major movie like that. You just think, okay, like there's definitely a theme that Hollywood, you know, producers know
You wonder if they're all
about.
hooked into stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's a whole other
Okay.
yeah, I'm definitely not going
Got
there.
me thinking, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
transmutation is basically alchemy. So transmutation is magic, right? Transmutation is where we get to change one situation or object into something else. And that's where the real magic happens. So we start off with our imagination, and then the more, you know, the bigger our imagination gets, the bigger the line we throw out, and the easier they can ride in. And then they come in, and so, you know, I had one girl, for example, and she has been through a lot of trauma. And I said to her, you know, how does this present itself? And she said, I've got this darkness, you know, there'd been some, you know, a lot of stuff. But anyway, she saw it as a ball of darkness, right? And sometimes the darkness would just come and take over her whole body, and then she would become suicidal and all these other things. And so I said to her, okay, you know, let's sit on the beach. And so I took her down into a relaxed state, and into, you know, more of a theta state of brainwave. And then I said, let's sit on the beach and invite that darkness in, right? Let's bring it round here and just put it in front of you. And maybe you want to give it a face like Darth Vader. Maybe you want to, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. And so when it came around in front of her, and I worked with her with this ball of darkness, and we wanted it to be visible, right? Because this is all about dark to light. So we wanted it to be visible. And after a few minutes, I said to her, how's that ball looking? And she said, it's changed. And I said, okay, what's it changed into? And she said, it's me. It's a little me. And she's sitting in front of me. And I was like, amazing. Like, there's your guides showing you. They wrote in on the image. You know, you conjured up the beach, you conjured up the dark shadow right in front of you. You started to give it a face. And then your guides rolled in on that creativity and imagination, which is actually your quantum activation. And they wrote in on that, and they said, this is what's really going on, right? And so that's a perfect example of accessing the quantum, and using your creativity for them to write in on. And then the transmutation happened when they were able to plug in, you know, to the energy field and transmute this darkness into a little her. And when we had a little her, suddenly we could work with the real feelings, the real depth of what was going on. But we use transmutation in hundreds of different ways. So, you know, we might do a collective meditation out to the planet, and transmute all this chaos into love bombs, right? Love hearts, just dripping love hearts all over the planet. That's a really beautiful one to do. You might have a situation with a friend, and you might pull up that friend, and you might pull up that darkness with her or him, and you might just talk from your heart to this person in the quantum field, and then project love and healing and watch it, you know, and then you might make all this stuff up like beautiful golden rain pouring down on them with healing love. You might put a big love heart around them. You might run up and give them a hug. Like, what your imagination is limitless. But what will happen is, as soon as you start imagining, then you will start creating, because that's when your guides write in and they say, here's another one. What about this one? This one's going to work really well with you. And then suddenly it might change to something else, right? And that's when the transmutation starts to happen, when you're transmuting something negative into something loving and much lighter. So that transmutation is what we try and do with the 3D energy into 5D energy. So is that resonating? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sweet. So yeah, that's your transmutation. And then your manifestation is when you are deep in the quantum field, right? Now you can do lots of different things to manifest. And I'll talk sort of more tomorrow about, you know, this dark to light, the inner child, self-love, all that sort of stuff. But today's about the quantum, and your real deepest manifestation happens in the quantum. Okay. And one of the hardest things to learn or to come to grips with in your spiritual growth is non-attachment. You know, the Buddhists talk about it all the time, Dharma, and, you know, it's freeing yourself from attachment. And, you know, it took me years and years to really understand this, years. And, you know, and I learned it through long, hard pain. But, and of course, it doesn't mean I'm not attached to anything, you know, I am attached to things, but I try and recognize what I'm attached to, and I try and ease that thread, you know, and loosen it up when I feel that attachment. But what tends to happen is we want something in life, you know, like, you know, we want a relationship, or we want this job, or we want to know where we're going to be in 5 years. We want it just shown to us. We don't want to wait, because it's going to change all the decisions that we make in the now. You know, we want these things, and it's very hard to release our attachment to them. So what we're actually doing when we attach is we are holding a thread really tight in the quantum realm. So if you imagine the quantum realm and everything in it, all of our energy bodies, souls, everything else is all in the cosmic quantum realm. And in that realm, just imagine there's a gossamer cobweb that goes through every soul, every planet. It goes through, you know, the whole cosmos, this beautiful gossamer cobweb. And every time you are trying to pull something to you, you're tugging on one of those threads on the cobweb. And it has this effect of creating tension, both in your energy body and on that thread. And so the strange effect of that is that you often are pushing away the thing that you're trying to most draw to you, because you're creating tension in your energy field. And so you see it all the time, you know, people who have been trying to have a baby for years, no reason why they can't, and then they just give up. They completely give up. But what's actually happening is they're letting go of that thread, right? And then all of a sudden they get pregnant. You know, I've seen that so many times. Or you get people who, you know, you just want something so badly, you know, and then when you suddenly release it and let go completely, abundance comes. And, you know, I always think of, I think I told this in my workshop that a few of you might have been at, but, you know, this client of mine and the watch, do you remember that story? And she came to me and she said, you know, can I just get it? Like, is there anything I need to take off? And I said, no, but I just want you to take that watch off because there's something about it that's bugging me. And she goes, oh, and I was like, what? And she said, this belonged to my ex. And I took it when we broke up. It's the only thing I ever got out of that relationship. And I was like, ooh. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. We'll take it off, set it down. And she was like, I can't believe it. And she lay down and about 5 minutes in, I was like, you know, you've got to get rid of the watch, don't you? And she was like, I can't. He took all this money and blah, blah, blah. This watch is worth a lot of money. And I was like, you've got to get rid of the watch. I said, and she's like, oh, I've got no money and I want to, you know, I want to create all this art and I want to go to Wearable Arts in Wellington, but I've got no money. And I said, okay, yeah, you know, I said, you won't go any further until you get rid of this watch. And she goes, I'll think about it. Anyway, she came back and she goes, okay, I've decided to get rid of the watch. I'm going to sell it and make some money. Anyway, she spent ages trying to sell it and she couldn't sell it. And she came back to me and she said, it didn't work. I tried to sell it and I couldn't sell it. And so I started working on her, and about 5 minutes in, I said, the watch has to go home to its owner. And she was like, oh, no. And I said, okay, let's just let it sit. And when she came back, she goes, do I have to give it to him in person? And I said, no, you don't. But you have to give it to him with love. And she was like, oh, she had to go away and think about that one for another week. And she finally came back and she said, okay, I found someone that can give it to him. And so she put it in a package and she wrote this really nice note. And, you know, and she'd agonized over this for weeks. She wrote this really nice note and she said, you know, just to let you know, I've had this watch and I feel that it needs to come home. Hope you're well. And wishing you the best. And she gave it to someone and they passed it on. And she came back just to tell me, like she came back, I think about 3 weeks after that, and she goes, Mel, you're not going to believe it. She said, I sent that watch back and literally 1 week later, I got a 15 grand grant approved for my artwork. And 2 friends bought me tickets to the Wearable Arts show in Wellington, including flights and a hotel. And something else. There was some other big like flush of abundance. And she said, I have been waiting years for these things. And she's like, I just can't believe it. I cannot believe it. And I was like, well, you know, now you understand how abundance works. Now you understand the push me, pull you of the universe, right? When you're trying to pull like this with all your might, you're only ever going to meet resistance. And as soon as you let it go and give it out to God or whoever, then it creates a vacuum for something to come in, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, so that was just like one of my favorite stories, and I asked her if I could use it, and she said yes. I was like, yes. And so I love sharing that story because it illustrates everything perfectly. And you can be sure that you might have done all the work in the world, and I've had this recently, in fact, where you've done all this incredible work, and there's just maybe one little thread, like a hair on your chin, and it seems so insignificant, but it's creating a really big block in your life, and you have no idea until you pull that hair out, let it go, and suddenly something floods in, and you get a real shock. And so, you know, it's a really interesting thing to practice. And you know, it doesn't necessarily happen straight away. I mean, we might want to let go of something, you know, like this lady, she tried, this went on for like 2 months, you know, and she had to break through her resistance in stages, right? Because we work in stages. We want to let go of something, but it's really hard. And so the best way that I have discovered of letting, you know, of releasing attachment is by going into sort of quite deep meditation and creating an image that represents what is blocking me or what I'm wanting. And you know, it might be that you've broken up with someone and there was someone else and you just can't handle it, or it could be, you know, it could be anything. But you create this image,
Doctor, what do you think?
That represents it, and you have it in front of you, and you offer it out to the universe. You say to this person or things, I'm releasing you to the universe. I'm offering you out. I'm releasing all of my ties to you, and I'm freeing you in every way. And I'm showering you with love. I'm pouring it over you, or your situation, or whatever. I'm pouring raindrops of love hearts all over you, and I'm freeing you. I'm no longer asking for you. And so, you know, I do this very deeply, and I do it with a lot of repetition until I feel it, right? So when you're first doing it, you're doing it and you're doing it and you're doing it, but you still feel the resistance. But if you keep doing it, then suddenly one day you feel it. And that's when you know that the thread is loosening, and you keep going until you really feel that whoosh, and you will feel it. There's nobody who won't feel it. That's just what I do. But, you know, as you go into work, you might find that, you know, you have a different way. You might start doing that, and then it might turn into a completely random thing. That's your guides jumping in on your creation line and giving you one that works better, right? Because that's what they do. But all of these things only work with repetition, and with practice, and with intention, true intention. You know, there's no point going, oh, fuck, I'm going to love him then. Fine, I'll send them love. Fine, you know, and going in, and that's not going to get you anywhere. Like, fine, I'll release it. No, you've got to literally come in with, like, you know, true loving intention, and be ready to let that shit go. Okay, so I thought we'd just try a little exercise, break it up a bit, but we'll just take, say, a 2-minute toilet break, and if anyone needs to go to the loo or just stretch their legs, then do that now. Okay, We're back in a moment. Anyone got any questions before we do that?
I have a really silly question.
Yeah.
So, like, the thing that came to my head was that deep longing to find love or to find like a relationship. Is that kind of like the same thing? You seem to be like, you know what, I'm going to be okay. I don't need to be in a relationship. I will be happy on my own.
Yes. Yeah. Like I am, you know, I mean, you can say, oh, like I am my own relationship, I'm whole, but your subconscious isn't going to believe that, right? Your subconscious is not going to believe it. So that's what I'll be going into tomorrow, your subconscious, which is making 80% of your decisions. But if you create an image and you say, you know, love, like you maybe create your perfect person, get really imaginative, create everything, and then just say, I am releasing you to the universe. I am letting you go. I am freeing you from my mind with love and honor and integrity. I'm giving you back to the universe. And I ask only for what I need to be brought to me when I am ready. That's what I always used to say. Please bring me just what I need when I'm ready, and I will honor it gratefully. I will accept it. Whatever that looks like, I will accept it. And I will continue to serve you. Hard sometimes. I'm not saying it's always easy. I'm just saying that it's practice and commitment, because in that, when you really get that release, like you create this enormous vacuum, and it's quite amazing what can happen in that vacuum.
Can you say that one more time? Sorry, Melly. I feel like I really need to have that sink in about the relationship. What's a good thing to focus on?
So again, you use your imagination, right?
Mm.
So maybe you want to imagine the perfect person, or maybe you want to imagine a big love heart. Like, you'll see it when it comes. You start the process, and then they jump in on that line and they start helping you, right? That's where you meet in the middle. That's where that connection point is. You throw the line out like fishing, and then they've got something to hook onto, and then they can come in on the reel. Yeah. So you
Can I just add in, if you use all your senses as well, like with your imagination going, and it smells like this, and it tastes like this, and so that really helps you embody that as well.
Yeah. And you will find certain senses, because you might be clairaudient, clairsentient, whatever. You'll all be clear something, but you'll find yourself drawn to more senses than others, some senses more than others. Yeah. But that's a great idea, to add in the sensory element of it. And then you're going into this deep honoring of that image, and then you are releasing it. You're saying these mantras, right? Thank you, but I'm releasing you. I'm freeing you. I'm gifting you back to the universe. I'm honoring you, and I'm gifting you back. And I'm just going to say thank you and goodbye. And you and it will probably be quite emotional, and you will be able to just start the process, but then you practice and you repeat and you repeat and you repeat, and then one day you get this and you shower it with love, like, I love you, I love you, I love you, and I'm freeing you. I'm releasing all the cords, all the attachments, all the hooks. I'm pulling them all out, bringing them home. Like this is just what's coming through, and I'm giving you back. I'm giving you back. And I just ask for what I need to come to me when I'm ready, and I will honor it in all its forms. And I always say I'll continue to serve. Like, I always say I will serve you to the day I die. Just help me, serve you. Like, help me do it in the best possible way. Help me to do it with integrity. Help me to do it with authenticity. And, to really just speak from the quantum field rather than my physical field, because the quantum field is always the truth, right? Okay. All right. I'm just going to run to the loo. I'll come back. I'll be back.
So quiet.
My hand's getting sore from writing so many notes.
I can't write fast enough, so I kind of give up and write scribbled notes.
Yeah, I'm writing in the dark. God knows what I've written. It looks like Egyptian.
New language.
One of those weird entities I've been channeling.
Yeah, they're coming through you right now, love.
Oh my God, I'm getting sick of it.
Far out. I'm so hot.
Me too. I'm boiling. My hands.
Oh.
I feel the energies.
Yeah. Crikey duck. Oh dear.
That you, Kushla.
Yeah, it's hers.
Oh dear.
The naughty one in the car.
Probably won't be able to go to sleep now.
I'm gonna go meditate and release finding a relationship that works.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh my God, me too. Me too, Charlotte. I'm like, I've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in a quandary. There's something I want, but then I think, do I really want it? So many changes that I'd need to make. It would be such a lifestyle change. It would be incredible, but
Is
We're
it still
all going
recording?
through that.
Oh
You're
yeah.
on mute now.
Melly, you're muted.
Oh, she's laughing.
It's always
Did you hear all that?
when I'm having a big chat with you all, like telling you something that I'm muted, like in the meditation the other day.
Yeah.
Doing this big, like, how much I love you all, and then I was on mute.
That's right.
You all a pep talk. Oh dear. Okay, I just want to try a little exercise. This is a Tom Kenyon exercise, but I really like it because it just gives you an association, which or do I want to do that one or what to do? Okay, we'll just give this one a little try. Okay, so I'm going to mute you, but unmute yourself if you need. It's just so we don't have background noise. Ooh, okay, got some energy rising. Okay. Right, so I'm going to get you all to close your eyes and just relax a little bit. And just ease your breathing. Just release your breath. Big exhales. And then just holding a little at the bottom. And just inhaling and expanding the stomachs and making sure you're breathing the right way around. Expanding the stomach on the inhale, releasing on the exhale. And I want you just to imagine a really beautiful moment. Just a really precious or lovely or beautiful memory. And just bring that up. Really feel into it. And maybe you have some sensory activity around that as well. And when you've got it nice and solid, and you're really feeling that moment, I want you to put your forefinger and thumb together and place it on your thigh. Just make a circle with your forefinger and thumb and place it on your thigh while keeping that memory. Okay, now release the forefinger and thumb and just shake off that memory. Shake it off. Just release it, come back to neutral. And I want you to place your forefinger and thumb together again and put it on your thigh. And just see if that memory or feeling comes back. And just release that again and shake it off. And I want you to come back to that memory. Back in. Really soft, lovely memory, very pleasant. Place your forefinger and thumb together and put it on your thigh. Okay, and release again, shake it off, come back to neutral. And now place that forefinger and thumb back on your thigh and see if you come into that feeling a little more easily. Okay, so now just come back. Could you see, could you feel that after a couple of times when you put the thumb and the forefinger down that you could actually feel or tap into that feeling without having to actually go into the feeling? So we only did that a couple of times, but if you did that, say 4, 5, 6 times, what you're doing is you're creating an anchor, right? And you're creating an association. And so this is how we create associations all through our childhood. And this is why we get triggered, right? And I'll go into that tomorrow, but we have something that anchors us to a moment of fear or vulnerability or, whatever it is. And so whenever we get re-triggered, the anchor suddenly drops. But we have beautiful experiences where we are anchored to. And you might suddenly smell honeysuckle and remember a holiday, in the country. Like everyone can relate to that sort of association. But you can also create new associations. And this is an example of creating a new anchor. So you can play around with this kind of idea and experiment, so that when you're feeling triggered, you can actually just, like, if you repeat this over and over and over until it's quite strongly anchored, you can actually get to the point where when you're feeling a bit crap, you can just put your forefinger and your thumb together on your thigh and actually recalibrate and bring back, that emotive experience, or bring back a pleasant feeling within the body, because you've made this association between the anchor and the emotion. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's just a little way of showing you how powerful we are, right? Of the fact that associations don't have to be negative. We think of triggers as negative, but they're not. They're just anchors that take us back in time. And we can actually rewire our mind, our brain, to have new experiences, and actually sort of re-empower ourselves by creating new anchors. So that's, another way of transmuting, of, alchemizing something. So, there's no logical reason why our brain would make that association, but it does. And it's very, it's very strong when you start doing some repetition and doing that sort of thing quite often until you've got a strong anchor. Then you can literally just, place your fingers down and immediately recreate this kind of feeling. So, oh, that's interesting, Lidwin. So do you think the sadness came up because the memory seems like a long way away, or do you think there's another reason?
Well, it was a memory with my grandmother, and she's passed away, so I wonder if it's...
Yeah, so that's poignant, right? That's really beautiful. And so, the sadness is kind of beautiful. But if you wanted to maybe create a different moment that didn't bring you into sadness, then you might want to pick a moment like one of your girls being born, or, these incredible moments that are very, poignant, but hold you in that space without the loss or the grief as well.
I'll give it a go. Thanks.
Yeah, see how you go. So it's really just learning how to play with different experiences with our imagination. So I want to do a little meditation and see if we can go into the quantum. Okay, so I'm going to just sort of lead you through. And if your imagination takes you somewhere else, go with yours, okay? So I'm going to lead you out. I'm going to give you a few ideas, and then, so I don't know what's going to come, but we'll just see what comes. And then you see where you go, okay? Just as an example. Right. So just settle in and start, breathing a little more deeply. And just relax all the muscles in your stomach. Just let them go, okay? Just really let them go. So you're deep diving down into the belly. And I want your belly to become an ocean. And there's waves coming in and then being pulled back out to sea. And maybe the energy is moving like a wave in that area. And imagine with each inhale, the waves are washing into shore. And with each exhale, they're pushing out to sea. And suddenly you're standing in the waves. In the big belly, like the planet around you. And with each exhale, you're starting to get pulled out into the ocean. And suddenly you're moving at speed out into space. Into the quantum field of cosmic energy. And out in space, in this quantum field, you see everything playing out. You see timelines rushing with speed. You see everything moving quickly. And you catch glimpses of people laughing as they rush past, events happening. And it's all moving with such speed. And as it's moving with speed, you find that you are slowing down. Your thoughts are slowing. Your breath is slowing. Your energy is slowing. And in that deep slowness, you are able to think far more clearly than you ever have. And everything rushing past you becomes insignificant. Because in this place of everything slowing down, you are able to manifest whatever you want. But it must be from a place of neutrality. It must be from a place of non-attachment, a place of observation. You are able to see everything very clearly in here. And you are able to co-create and we're going to co-create oneness for the planet. We are going to co-create peace. From an observer point of view, from the perspective of a being that is not of earth, a compassionate, loving being, wanting the greatest ascension that the planet is capable of at this time. Feel that compassion rising. Feel that desire for Earth to know peace. Feel that desire for the Earth to know unity. And from this place of deep slowness, not stillness, because there is still the quantum wave moving you just very, very slowly. And from this place, in this energy, suddenly a timeline out of all the timelines rushing by separates out and races towards you. And this is the one you jump on. Maybe like a roller coaster, suddenly strapped in and moving forward. Manifest love hearts. See all the people of Earth hugging, laughing, sharing, realizing how silly they've been, as though waking up from a deep sleep. And the timeline you are on sees you racing towards this Earth, this finish line, this timeline. And you feel such relief and gratitude. At your ability to create for the greater good Machlainachai Shravashlanai Tuklanachai Orachinurashwara Nidklainikurashlo Mochle Mochle Mochle. And just hold that image of that earth, that timeline. Send gratitude and ask for manifestation for the greater good. Allowing you to continue in service as you came here to do. And then ride back in on that wave. Gently washing up on the shore. Dusting yourself off. And sitting in the sun to dry off. While the world buzzes around you, laughing and happy. Mache, mache, mache. Okay, so just slowly come back. And as you're coming back, just keep that image of everyone laughing and being together, that unity. Just hold it. Because what we're doing is releasing some threads. We're releasing the threads of polarity. We're bringing some unity threads in. So we're changing the energy. Does anyone want to give any feedback on anything they experienced or felt, or whether there was any changes, or whether they could tap into that or not? Nina?
I think what I wanted to say, it's like living between two worlds. There are days where you just think, and I think I have a fear that I'm just going to dissolve if I step too far sometimes.
Yeah. It is like living between two worlds. You're exactly right.
And you think, oh, well, what if I just disappear? What if I stop being? Or the other fear is, what if I mentally lose it? I haven't got a grip on reality anymore. And I've always had that. People think I'm fluffy, and so it was coming home in the way that I worked anyway. But all of a sudden, I was being affirmed. There was more affirmations that it's okay. It's okay. You don't need to read them out because you'll know.
Yeah.
Whereas people were thinking, oh, she's a fluff piece.
Yeah.
But there are still moments when that comes back to me and I think, oh my God, have I just lost a grip on reality?
Yeah, so that's your anchor, right? It's an old anchor that anchors you back to that belief that you're somehow losing your grip on reality. Whereas in fact, what you're actually doing is co-creating. So yes, I totally understand that. And it is like living between two worlds. And I understand that fear of dissolving. And it's like, a lot of religions, for example, think that it's really, really bad to talk to spirit or to ever try and tap into any of these fields because they say that you're just opening up to the dark side. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of fear around the quantum. And it's really just because that's been hidden from us for so long, right? It's kind of the alchemic secrets that very few have held for a very long time. And we've always been trained to believe that only a few can have these magical secrets. But what is really coming through within this time on the planet is that we all have access to the quantum realm. Now, the reason we've had this hidden from us is because the power of the planet has been held by very few, and they do not want us rising, right? Because when we rise, we're the majority. And when we rise together and when we realize we don't have to fight, when we lay down our arms and we stand together in unity consciousness, the entire power structure of the planet will collapse and something new will rebuild. And they don't want that, right? They don't want it. It doesn't suit them. And so they've created all these elaborate religions and stories and all sorts of things to stop us from accessing our true abilities, and also our connection into the quantum field where our true power is hidden, right? So we've been trapped in this physical aspect. This is our prison. And we've been told, oh no, there's all bad things out there. You don't want to go hunting around and digging. You're only going to find trouble, or you might float off and disappear. And what they're really trying to do is just hide the fact that it's available to all of us. And it's extreme. That is where we find our soul. That's where it's all hidden. Everything's hidden out there. And when we go out and make that discovery and learn how to connect in with our guides, our teams, or whoever we work with, celestials, angelics, you know, we've all got whatever we want out there. And when we have access to that true access, it is so empowering that we do not view power in the same way ever again. So when we've been stuck in these structures of thinking someone in a big corporate role is more powerful than someone who works in a supermarket, then we are caught up in the matrix that they have created for us. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, hang on, Suze fell out. Sorry, Suze. We're lucky we're with Kate. Whereas when we move out into the quantum field, suddenly that matrix dissolves, right? Well, like, you know, I can talk to a CEO or I can talk to a waitress. They don't look any different to me. I do not hold one in higher esteem than the other, not even one iota, not even slightly. And so, you know, you start reading the energy behind someone. And when you're reading the energy behind someone, they know it. And so they come up with all this resistance if they are not in their authentic self. And that, you know, so all the dynamics start to change, right? Everything starts to change dynamically, because when you're in your authentic self, your power starts to show through regardless of, you know, where you work. I have never forgotten this moment from like a year or so ago. I was actually with Nesta, but we were down going to a festival in Napier, I think, and I walked into a dairy to buy like some mints or something, you know, and there was this man working there, and he was this Indian man, and he had these huge eyes, like, but I mean, I walked in and it was like I could see this aura bigger than the whole shop. Like, and I couldn't, it was like I hadn't actually walked into a being that much in his beautiful, childlike, innocent power for a really long time. Like, he was just, his eyes shone, he just exuded this beautiful, beautiful energy. And I knew that he was so solid in that energy that no matter who came along and said what to him, nothing would destabilize it. He would still be holding that energy, right? And that's pretty rare, but there he was in a dairy and looking way more powerful to me than, you know, anyone I've seen in a long time. And I see a lot of powerful people, but, you know, I had this huge desire to want to know him and find out who he was, because he was sort of, you know, walking with this, and he didn't say much. He was just very polite, very sweet. You know, a lot of people would have just walked right past that energy, but for me it was just like, it just was wide and open and authentic and true and childlike, but with wisdom. So yeah, it was, you know, you really find these energies in the most unlikely places. But that's why I say, really, your job doesn't matter, because when you feel whole, you could be, you know, working in a dairy, you could be running pizzas, or you could be, you know, running a company. It's all the same, because you will be doing it with the correct energy. And you will be anchoring that energy in a vibratory way to everyone you come into contact with. So, yeah, you know, that's like true, you know, soul energy. That's true, coming home to yourself. And the more you do that, and the more you work in the quantum field, the more you manifest, the more you detach from all the things that you thought you wanted and come into your true soul purpose, and it all just starts to flow, right? And so then when something happens which would normally destabilize you, you're in a new baseline. You've created a new baseline for yourself. And so you might sort of feel some of those familiar triggers coming through, but you then observe those triggers. You observe from this new space of being whole. You begin to observe the energy around what is triggering you. And then you can do this work in the quantum field to release it, and find that you move through those moments with way more ease and grace than you ever have, because you're releasing the resistance to control and whatever else is going on that's, you know, triggered you in the first place. Any questions? I've shut you all up. Oh, I just want to read Julia's one. Hang on. In the end, got the image of putting some of the love and connection in an envelope and bring it back with me into this timeline. I love that. So I don't know if you can see that message from Julia, but she said, wow, that was good. In the end, I got the image of putting some of the love and connection in an envelope and bringing it back with me into this timeline. Beautiful. So that's a perfect example of, you know, throwing the line out, and them, your guides or your team, riding in on that line and giving you something that is assisting you in the manifestation process, in the transmutation process. Really awesome. Love that. Okay. Anyone else want to share or ask anything? No? Bunch of chatterboxes.
I got a couple of questions.
Tell me.
One of them, I might be getting ahead of myself, and it might be for another night. So I might leave that second. But the first question was when we were talking about like manifestation and letting things go, we were kind of like referring to relationships or love or something like that. What about when you're trying to manifest like currency or abundance? Like is it the same? Is it the same concept?
Yeah. Okay, hang on a second. Yes, because what you need to do is come at this in the quantum field from the right angle. Okay, so rather than trying to manifest money, for example, so what I used to do is I would say, okay, you know, I want to serve, like I'm gonna serve. This is it. I'm gonna serve you. Like until the day I die, I make a promise that I will serve you. And I only ask that you bring financial abundance that I can continue to serve. So bring enough for me to live on, bring enough for me to feel safe so that I can continue to do your work. Just, you know, just help me out with that. And I'm just gonna like keep doing what I'm doing, but just bring me enough to feel safe, because I don't want to feel the resistance in the cosmic web that's going to make me think I need to give this up and move on to another timeline. So if this is the work I'm meant to be doing, bring me enough financial assistance that I can feel safe and comfortable doing it and moving forward in service. If this is not the work I'm meant to be doing, please make the sign really, really clear. And I always say, because I'm so slow at seeing the signs, so make them really obvious. So just make the signs really clear and put the right signs in my path to get me onto the correct timeline.
I have a question, Mel.
Esther.
So I've started to become aware that there are lots of things that we're not consciously aware of that block us. Did you say you were going to go into subconscious tomorrow though, right?
Yeah, big time, big time.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's right. So the subconscious, you know, we are making 80% of our decisions from the subconscious. So everything we walk forward in life with is coming from our subconscious. So yeah, we want to be sending the right messages to our subconscious, not necessarily our conscious. And that's why loads of positive affirmations don't work, you know. Oh, I'm beautiful, I'm powerful, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm going to say it 100 times a night and put it on my mirror. And it takes a long time, you know, because it's not like you say it and then believe it. Your subconscious is going, yeah, whatever, you know, what a load of bollocks, like, you know, I'm not powerful, I can't manifest that. Like, so you have these really strong signals in the background that are completely in opposition to the ones that are in the foreground. So your interface is reflecting something completely different to, you know, the back end user. And so it's, yeah, it's definitely all about changing the subconscious. And yeah, I'm actually going to write a note of that. And in fact, could you just message me after and just remind me to write a note of that, just in case I get sidetracked when I come off. Thanks, because it's a really, real big one. Those blind blocks, that are really, but we will be going over all of that over and over, tomorrow. Okay, any other questions or feedback? No? Okay, so we'll finish up, but feel free to send some feedback through to me privately on whether you found it helpful or useful. And the one tomorrow is healing and releasing triggers, and that's 5 till 7 tomorrow. So same Zoom link. Feel free just to jump on, and we'll just hammer out some big stuff on that one. I don't know what we'll get through in 2 hours, but I'm going to just bomb you. So that'll be fun. I'll record it, and I'll stop the